Holy God, we look to that day when Christ will come again and life shall be complete. For that time when we may passionately care for peace and justice, for health and wholeness here on earth. Gracious one, let us look to you. And now may the words of my mouth and the thoughts of all of our hearts be acceptable to you, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. All right, does anybody remember what I talked about last week? Yeah, what was it? Dirt. I heard dirt. The health of the earth and soil. Now, I don't know about you. You heard me talk about this a little bit last week, but I struggle to reflect on the natural world. I mostly try not to think about it very much. When I do, topics come up that I don't really like. Species extinction, not my favorite. Environmental inequity. Ugh. Climate crisis. I feel pretty helpless and more than a little hopeless a fair bit of the time. I find myself like the servants in Jesus's first parable, wanting to get rid of my despairing thoughts and feelings about the state of our planet, to pull them up like weeds planted alongside good seed. Anybody else want to do that? But here's the thing. Alongside those weeds of despair are seeds growing life, are stories of hope and resilience. How many of you have been to or seen an abandoned mine? Lots of us, yeah. We have lots of them dotting our landscape here in Colorado. What are some of the things that you remember about abandoned mines? Rickety. Yeah, those wood structures, watching your kids and being like, please don't climb. Maybe that's just me and my kids, I don't know. They're rickety. What else? Cold and wet inside. Paul. The tailings dumped down the side of the mountain, and what then does that side of the mountain look like? Rust, a rock waterfall that stays there forever. And what grows in that rock waterfall? Nothing. Not really a whole lot. Yeah, Tim. They make excellent bat habitats. All those kind of rickety wooden structures are great places for bats to live. So there's some life there, yes. So, in its heyday, open pit iron ore Republic Mine grew so large that it forced demolition or relocation of over 90 homes. But by the early 1990s, production costs had gone way up. They'd grown too high. And the company that owned the mine began to remove equipment and demolish structures. No longer a money-making machine, the mine has become a silent reminder of the damage that can be done in the name of progress. Not in Colorado, but in the middle of the northern woods of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Have you been there, anybody? Give a wave. It's a beautiful part of the country. Is an alien landscape with nothing but fine red sand. The soil is what? Dead. The water is devoid of life. This mine that once chewed up acres of land is barren. In light of destruction such as this, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by feelings of hopelessness. Let's be honest. We humans have destroyed the balance of nature. Forests are being clear-cut. Deserts are spreading. There's terrible pollution and poisoning of air, earth, and water. In some parts of the world, there are too many humans, and in other parts of the world, overconsumption. So where do we find hope? Where can hope, like a tiny mustard seed, take root and grow so large that it too can flourish and sustain life? Last Sunday, after a sermon about soil degradation, one of you came up to me and pointed toward the Dr. Jane Goodall. You remember her, right? The anthropologist whose work with chimpanzees captured the world's imagination more than 60 years ago. She's 89 now. But she still travels the world, speaking about the threats facing chimpanzees and also about global environmental crises, urging each of us to take action on behalf of all living things and the planet we share. Contrary to my assumption, which was if you've worked with chimpanzees in what is now Tanzania, hope is a little bit thin. Hope turns out to be at the very center of Jane Goodall's activism. Not naive hope, but hope based in research and decades of experience all over the globe. So this morning, I want to share with you, in her own words, 89-year-old Jane Goodall's reasons for hope. First, the amazing human brain, which has created modern technology, much of which has already greatly benefited millions of people around the globe. Around the world, innovative solutions are being developed to many of the problems we ourselves have created. So you need look no farther than your own head for one of the sources of Jane Goodall's hope. Secondly, the resiliency of nature. If given a chance, nature has the ability to repair the wounds that we have inflicted. With more people becoming so passionate about protecting the environment, we've shown again and again the places we actually destroyed can, with a little bit of help, or sometimes even just time, nature can reclaim them and life can come back. Creatures on the brink of extinction can be given another chance. She writes, "My third reason for hope lies in the tremendous energy, enthusiasm, and commitment of young people around the world." Who else gets hope from young people around us? No pressure, folks. All of us were young and the hope for the future at one point. But there is tremendous, indeed, energy, enthusiasm, and commitment that we see in our young people. And I love this fourth reason. She writes, "My fourth reason for hope lies in the indomitable nature of the human spirit. The people who tackle seemingly impossible tasks and will not give up." One example she gives is Dawn Merton. She saved the black robin. Anybody ever heard of the black robin? No, me neither. Apparently it was almost extinct, and this guy, Don Merton, decided he was going to save it. He was told he was wasting his time. But the black robin still exists because of his commitment and faithfulness. Some are iconic figures like Nelson Mandela. He emerged from 17 years of hard physical labor, 21 years in prison with the amazing capacity for forgiveness. In fact, she writes, we find this indomitable human spirit all around if we bother to look. So let's do just that. Let's look. Let's go back to the Republic Mine up in the upper peninsula, thank you. of Michigan to that desolate landscape devoid of plant or animal life. In the late 90s, after equipment is tucked away and structures demolished, a small handful of individuals decide they are going to make a change. Cliffs Natural Resources, the original mining company that did the damage in the first place, agrees to bring in experts to begin the work of restoration. They reintroduce nutrients to the soil and water. They mitigate harmful chemicals. They replant vegetation and construct habitats. The work is slow, painstakingly slow. It requires people. It requires commitment. It requires time and money, but slowly, life begins to reappear. Plants take root, and soon they are dropping their own seeds to repopulate the land. Insects, mammals, fish, frogs, and birds return. With human commitment and effort and nature's resiliency, the land transforms. It resurrects. Today, it's 2,300 acres of upland and wildlife habitat. That includes 679 acres of wetlands. The animals viewed on that land over the last 20 years include sandhill cranes, which we see and love here in Colorado, peregrine falcons, gray wolves, bald eagles, black bears, bobcats, coyotes, ducks, loons, even ospreys. Hope lives. Sometimes it is little more than the tiniest seed, yet planted in the soil of faith, planted in the heart of love, watered by our commitment and time, those seeds take root. They grow tall and strong, like a tree in whose branches nest the birds of the sky. There are a few of us who are reading Colors of Hope this summer, and William Deshay Jackson, one of the contributors, writes, "We must be committed to each other's flourishing, not just survival. And this requires connection. Under the same sun," Jackson writes, "we are invited to interact with one another in thought, word, and deed, strengthening our relationships and expanding our web of connection with all of creation. That connection deepens when we develop respect for all living things. It flourishes when we replace violence and intolerance with understanding and compassion. Which is why, on a regular basis,